Welcome back, Generals, to another Let's Fix Generals 0 Hour to make the best game ever. Good. So, do we have any pending things that we need to... No, we don't. Okay, let me see if there's any action on the reviews that I have up and running. Author 10. Actually, we have 2 ready for merge here. Maybe we can do that first. Review approved. We have this one and this one. Picks it up. So turn this would not work. Fix binary factor. Okay, proof audio file lookup. Okay, done. Simplify how audio settings are accessed in Audio Manager. Okay. Okay, that's done. Then let's see if there's anything else I need to work on the other ones. I think... Okay, nothing to do here. This one I already did, and I think then it's only this one here. Add comments for by default. Yeah, okay, let's go to this branch. Here, this one. Okay, so what we're looking for is that video quality is outrageous. Oh boy. Here, we search for this guy. Uses full volume. Use full volume by default because uses no volume. Say 0. Uses 0 volume by default because originally there we go, uses 0 volume by default because originally the money sounds did not work. 0 uses full volume by default because I think that's fine. Uses 0 volume by default because originally the money sounds did not work. And we're always muted. We should say here it's new setting. Okay, I think that's good enough. What else? So that is done. Okay, so money transfer volume, money transaction, money changed volume, money updated, money transfer, money transaction volume, transfer, transaction, money transaction volume. Maybe we should call it that way. Money tick volume. I click build somehow. Money transaction volume. Let me go to tools, options. Hotkeys, keyboard, build. Somehow there's some build on Control B or something like this. Where is it? Control, go to builds. Here, build selection, Control B. There we go, that's a culprit. Let's remove that garbage. Okay, so I assume that this can work, right? Money transaction volume. Yeah, let's try that. Match case. Okay. Money transaction volume. transaction volume. Money transaction. Rename to money transaction volume. Anything else? Does it compile? This blank line needed. Strut misc audio. Right, I would lay this out. Okay, so he suggests to so basically we revert all the changes we did here. Misc audio. We re-add this garbage. Then we remove this again, and remove that, and remove all that. Yeah. Okay, and then we do, did that compile? Yeah. And then we do preferred get and here we pass in RTS something. RTS. Jesus. This one. Money deposits sound. Withdraw sounds. Now the question is, will this compile? Because this type here is unknown, right? Audio event RTS. Maybe we pass it as const. Yeah. Is it a class? Yeah. Class. Const. Event equals audio event. So make a copy here. Ooh. Ooh. I think we can write this even differently. We can say here, or we say a volume equals that audio events. Where we say float epsilon. Or we take a really small custom epsilon. I don't know, if the volume is 0.001, then it's probably inaudible, maybe like so. Yeah, practically not audible. Technically, maybe this is better. I mean, 0 times 0 is 0, so we shouldn't be worrying about epsilons in this case. Yeah. 0 times anything is 0. Yeah. Okay, then we can here also pass volume directly. What is in here? Oof. The there are a bunch of strings here. Ah, but they're reference counted. Okay, that's fine. Oh, this should be pretty cheap. Yeah. Okay, so we have volume times that. Volume. Okay. Okay, let's see if that compiles. Yeah. Can't. Rewrite history to replace pointers. This creates a new copy of all data. Or can we purge that too? Okay, so we have that guy. Okay, that's pretty good. Then simplify audio setup. Okay, anything else? Fixed. What is this? I would lay this out in a similar fashion to the other options and how I did the time option mostly. So it's ready for when it gets replaced by a slider. Well, there's no slider. Well, if a slider needs to be added, then it will be added in front of here. I think it's fine. I think it is correct. It's fine as is. There's no slider yet. This is simply reading and writing from and to options any. Was mistake removed. Okay, while we are at it, let me add generals. Generates. Okay, while I looked at these things yesterday, I noticed that here we have some global data fields that are totally unused, right? So that means we can probably remove them. It's probably remnants from the past, I guess. Yeah. There was probably one time where these things were not yet in here, and then they made a refactoring and they moved it into the audio, and then they forgot to remove this here. Yeah, you can see here there's still the tab here, and then we have the dots. So a different author has touched this, likely Mark Lorenzen, judging by the spaces here. And yeah, he added that, but didn't remove this. Okay, well, it should be easy to remove. We just take these guys. And comment them out. Same here. And then we check all the compilers we get. Now this could also error on tools, so we should probably test it there as well. Okay, we have some fails here. Yeah, that's good. Let's see what is failing. Yeah, there we go. Now this guy here, let me see what's up with this. Also unused. Good, then we delete these guys. Okay. What else? There's more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, anything else? That might be it. Let's see. Okay. Remove unused audio globals. Okay, remove unused. Remove unused audio fields in global data. Okay, we should probably also build general tools and 0-hour tools once. Okay. Rename to that. Money transaction volume. Okay. Good, then we can also push this one here. This change, oops, removes unused audio fields, global data, refactor minor. Good. Fix double press group selection logic. Not reselecting the select. What is this? Right. Selecting idle workers via the select next idle button now always selects the next unique selectable and correctly selects top level containers. The next unique selectable and correctly selects top level containers. What did it before then? Let me see. Unique idle workers. Idle workers while get contained by treat containers as a single idle selectable. So what was the behavior before then? Okay, so I assume that previously it would just select multiple workers in the house. Let's see. Okay, so the first object lists. Okay, that's an STD list. That's okay. That's not good. Okay. How do we do this? So the problem is that this causes a lot of allocations when pressing the button, right? Like each node it needs to allocate. Please create a STL pushback unique function in STL utils. Create and use STL pushback unique function STL utils.h. Will be written like STL utils. Template type name container pushback unique. std find. Oh Jesus. Std find container begin and value. Type name container. Why don't we just write it here? Container, value type. Now it's iterator. Iterator. If it is not container.end, then if it is end, then container dot pushback value. Pushback element in vector like container if it does not exist, if it does not yet contain that the value. Pushback value. Pushback value into vector like container if it does not yet exist, if it does not yet contain that value. This is a common pattern. Use pattern. So this one here, also I don't like this name here. It should be unique IT. Because it's confusing to have an IT and then a UIT. It's not helping much. Okay, here get first selected drawable. How should we treat that? this is a tiny bit expensive because each worker needs to be allocated. Because each worker needs to be allocated. Find unique selectables to avoid selecting the same or previous container. It's a tiny bit expensive because each worker needs to be allocated. Each worker needs to be allocated. Right, so object list contains a pointer, or what is it? Yeah. Yeah. Let me see an instance here. Idle workers, yeah. Let me get that branch, actually. Yeah, it would be nicer if... Wait, hold on. How about... I have another idea. Idle workers. Why don't we... How does this exist? Find idle worker. Find idle worker. Yeah. Okay. It would be great if the idle worker, if this list already contained like the real deal, right? Without us needing to process this list on every click, right? Like here it needs to filter it. That's a bit sad, isn't it? I select, yeah, or I get compared by. I, how do we know where to pick up from? How do we know which worker we have currently selected? Let me see. Idle workers. Okay, how do we select the next one? If we had something selected that wasn't a worker, we will get here. If get select count is 0 or larger than 1. What is this? So if it's not 1, okay, where do we get the currently selected worker? Selected drawable. Aha, here. I see. And then it goes to the next one. I see. I see. I see. Okay. I think there's a simpler way to implement this. No, because we don't know, right? Right. This is really expensive. This is so expensive. So it needs to allocate. It needs to go through all these workers once and find their contain by, and then uniquely add that to this new list or vector, right? So that's a lot of work here. Yeah. How about if these guys were sorted and we could just look at the next one or the previous one, that would be easier, but we can't do that. No. Yeah. Yeah, so one way would be to say we want to cache this second list. That's not good. Okay, so one improvement would be to use a vector here and then reserve it by the size of these idle workers. So just one allocation and then we just push back. That would be first, but then you still have to do all this work here. It would be great if you could somehow avoid all this. They are not sorted, so the workers in the building, they don't need to be adjacent, right? They could be entirely unrelated and far away in the list. Yeah. No, that's not good. I don't know. This is not a easy thing. Yeah. It also makes implementations much more complicated here, right? Yeah. what we can do is maybe when we find a worker that is contained, that only then we make a lookup if it is a first worker that is contained in that particular object. Yeah. Let's put the comment here. This is an expensive approach to solving this. Another idea. That's also bad. How about we go over the list as before, and we only build a list, a vector. We only build a vector of the containers. Only build a vector of containers if they are containers. Make this std vector for performance. Approach. So we could iterate from the start, and then only if we encounter here a worker. Let me delete this here. Only if we encounter a worker here that is contained, then we add the contain ID to, then we add the contain ID to the vector. Okay, how about we implement this ourselves? Because this will take ages to communicate. This will take ages to communicate how this should be implemented. Good. So we go to main branch. find idle worker. Good. So. We're looking for this kind of code here. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So I think what we can do is here, select the drawable. Good. So okay, let me say here. So I think what we need to do is in here, we have the object here. So we do the same thing that he did here with this here. This here. Then we have here in get contained by. That's quite a bit. So what he did down here, that looks perfectly fine. Here. If our idle worker is contained. Okay, that's fair enough. And then here we need to we need to basically we need to build a list. Let me go to here, pushback, STL utils here, pushback. CD vector objects. Call this worker containers. It's also not good. C vector. Yeah. This is also bad to, like, on iteration try to figure out more stuff. It makes the logic much more complicated, right? The best would be if it was already properly sorted out here in this idle workers, right? Idle workers. Then how would this data structure look like? So we need an object, yeah. It would be great if somehow the workers were already properly managed in this object list. Maybe. There must be a clever way. There must be a clever way. So remove idle worker, it has to find this thing and erase it, right? Yeah. Add idle worker is super cheap. It just needs to push. That is super cheap. Okay. So remove idle worker, that's a bit more expensive because it does need to search and find, right? Add is very cheap. Okay. Yeah. Pressing the button is probably the most expensive. Yeah. I mean, good thing is that we don't press a button all the time, right? So it's a one-time event every now and then. So it's not frame critical. Yeah. But still, we should think about how we can implement the most efficient way. Yeah. With what is currently there. And also not too complicated. Yeah. There must be some good way. But I can't think of it right now. Remove firework. Actually, select next idle work. What we could do is we could manage a second list that contains workers that are staging, if there already is a house edit for a worker. Right. What is this used for here? Add idle worker. Okay, so it does a search here and checks if the worker is already in there. Oof. It's really a complicated implementation here. Return and then break. Yes, it defines. Begin. And this object list, right? Let me say if it is not the end, then return it. Then we don't need this, and we don't need this. Okay. Oh boy. The way this code is written, man. Oh man. Okay, here I think we can also make this simpler. Find this player number. If then erase. I think we can make this even a bit better here. We have this guy, it's an object list. Object list equals this. We call this idle workers. Idle workers. Idle workers. There we go. There we go. And then we don't need all this garbage down here. here I think we can also do object lists, idle workers. Okay, good. It's already a little bit easier to understand what's going on here. Good. Good. So how about we add idle worker. We somehow need to add him into the container object into the list. Don't add the real worker. But then, yeah. Container list. Maybe container. Yeah. I have an idea, I think. How about we maintain a second list of only the containers. So we have object lists. No, that needs it needs to be. Hold on. It's a. We need something like a struct, where we have a object. It contains pointers, right? Yeah. So how about we have an object, we call this container, and then in there we have another list for now. Object lists, container, object lists, workers. Yeah. And then we call this idle workers in containers. By the way, how are these workers added? Let me see. Add idle worker. They must be added when they are idle, right? Those are AI updates. Let's mark that. These are to add into idle worker button thingy. We don't want to add in if we are already in the list. Effectively dead. So is idle, is marked as idle. Dozer is effectively dead. So what we can do, yeah. So if it enters a house, then it should like go to idle, right? If it leaves a house, then probably is removed from idle, and it's probably re-added to idle when it's just standing there, right? How about we put breakpoints here? Find, std find. Is this an algorithm? Yeah, right. Includes algorithm. Oh, somehow we have this function here now twice. I don't know how that happened. Okay, we still got errors. So this one we call idle worker container. Okay, we first need to verify that the idle worker indeed is added and removed when he enters a house and leaves a house, so that we can freshly build an idle worker in the container. But I expect that this works. If not, then yeah, but that won't work. Yeah, and then what we can do is we can build a separate list for idle workers in containers. Yeah, so we don't add them to the single idle workers, but to idle workers in containers. And then the benefit of that is that we have a separate list that we can also push back to the end of the lookup, right? So first, the idle workers will be selected outside of houses, and only the last resort is idle workers in houses, right? So I think that would be very desirable, right? Just from a usability standpoint, because typically if you want to select an idle worker, then you want to build something straight away, right? What is this here? Here. Okay. Let's remove this here again. Okay, so we want to test if we get the right events. Yeah. Okay, but I think I have a good idea for how we implement this, and it should be pretty efficient. We don't need to build a separate list when we select the worker, because everything will be there. And yeah, I think it will be much more elegant, and it allows to like push the workers that are in the buildings to the back of the lookup, and or exclude them all together. We could also do that, right? Okay, so basically we take a official map, right? Desert Fury. Let's take Alpine Sol. There are some houses here, right? Let's take a GLA. Okay, so we have an idle worker starting here. Okay, so now if I move him here, okay, how is he removed? Why was this here not called? Is there another call to remove idle worker? Ah, there are multiples. Let's put the breakpoints inside these functions. Maybe that's a bit better. Here and here. Oof. The source is different. What? Why? It's up to date. Huh? What? Huh? Huh? Okay, somehow we can't place a breakpoint in here. The source code is different. Huh? What? Let's do a rebuild on this one. That's weird. Okay. Let's see if we can set breakpoints now or not. Huh? Installing. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Now the breakpoint is properly set. Strange. Must have been some strange issue. Okay, so if we now... Oh, that is unexpected. Oh boy. Let's restart with quick start. Yeah. It's workers dying probably in the shell map. Good. So now we should get a hit on at idle worker. Yes, the first one. Now if we move him, it should be removed, and it is, yes. And so now if he stops, he should be added again. Yeah. Add idle worker. Now if we put them into the house, he should be removed, and when he's in the house, he should be added again, right? So now is he removed? And now he's going into the house, and I assume he's inside now. Let me see. Contain. Oh, he doesn't have a contain yet. No, it needs contained by. Hold on. There it is. Yeah. So he's contained by this. Yeah. By this house. What is it? Thing. Civilian building. Yeah. The German cottage. Yeah. Okay. So we can absolutely do this. Yeah. This will work. Good. Then we stop debugging. Good. So we have the idle worker container. Then we put this here, the idle worker container, and we also put the max player. I don't know why every player has this. That's weird. Okay, good. So we have this idle workers in container. Let's say in containers, idle workers in containers. Okay, and then now we need to add this guy everywhere. So add idle worker. First we need to go to find idle worker, and so we need to find idle worker. So we if object is contained, then we do one thing, and if it's not contained, we do the other thing. So here, else. Okay, and then we take these guys and we put them here. Okay, and then here idle workers in containers, and then we do container. No, this is idle worker container, idle worker container, and then hold on, this is still not quite right. Idle worker container, and then it needs to be a list, right? It's type def std lists idle worker container worker containers. Containers. Okay, and then we do find idle worker containers. Then we do for iterator it equals begin it is not end plus it, and then in here we do it workers. IT workers begin. Somehow it doesn't work. Expression must have what? Huh? What's the problem here? Okay, I don't know what it's complaining here about right now. That doesn't make any sense to me. Actually, we can simplify this and we say we can take this code here that he has. We do objects, container objects. Okay, and then actually we can probably simplify this by having here a bool operator. Objects, so container objects, const return container object equals container. And then here we can now simplify this and say finds begin and end container objects. And this one returns a idle containers IT iterator. And then in here we return IT container. Okay, that should work. That looks also pretty efficient. We don't even look into the sub-containers. We just look at the container object. You can also add a debug assert crash container objects. Well, I mean, we all have to check above here. It's not necessary. Maybe you can simplify this even further. We can move this up here and then do if container object is not there. I think it's fine if we do it here. Yeah. is contained. Okay, so that is the lookup for the find idle worker. Now we need to add the idle worker. So we say so if object is contained, then he will be added to that. Else we do the classic pushback. Okay, so if he is contained, then we do similar. We again get this. Can we maybe get a function here? Another function. Is there a helper function like get contained by get? How about we add a new function here? Get how do we call it? Highest. Get top contained by, and then that will be then we do here objects object equals get contained by. While objects how was it written? While get contained by, yeah, so while this contained by, we do object equals contained by. I think we can make this even simpler. We can just assign null here. Get top contained by. Object. Return. const cast this. Yeah. Ugh. What am I writing here? Ugh. Get contained by. Okay, and that will make the lookup a little bit easier. So we go back to in-game UI, and then we do objects get top contained by. I think we did it wrong though. This one will crash. Yeah, that's also wrong. I think it needs to be like this. So first we start with the first get contained, and if that also has a contained, we also take that contained. Yeah. Okay, so then we have here get top contained by container object. Okay, then we want to add the idle worker. So we need to by the way, this here is wrong. We need to say if it is not idle worker containers.int. Okay, so that looks good. Then here, so we have container object. We need to add him. We first need to find if he's already in there. So we search. We already searched here. Yeah, okay, so we know he's not in there. Actually, hold on, that's not quite right. Find idle worker. It's kind of weird that why does this function return an object? Shouldn't this just be has idle worker or contains idle worker? That's weird. Let me see, where's this used? Oh, it's only used on this function. Oh, I see. find idle worker. Okay, then how about here we return structs, find idle worker results. Object container, objects or idle worker container, idle worker container. Then how about here we return should probably move this up a bit here. Oof. Oh my gosh. Where's the find idle worker? Find idle. Private. Private. Okay, it needs to be above it. No. Classic, everything is at the bottom. Friend class. Okay, let's add a private here. Yeah. Classic object list is somewhere down here. Good. And let's move the friend up here. Okay, so operator equals this, okay. Then here we do a bool found worker const return objects not null. We do a found container const return container is not null. How about instead of returning this, we return a actual iterator. Yeah, we return a object list IT. So a container IT. Yeah. And here we do object IT. Iterator. Object lists. Iterator. Containers. Oh. Ah, it's down here. Found worker. Then found worker, we pass this list, const list. Object lists. And then we do return object IT is not list.end. Okay. Okay, and then on find idle worker, we now return this find idle worker results. Let me find them. Find idle worker. There we go. There we go. Find idle worker result. Let me find idle worker results dot container IT equals idle workers in containers. Hold on. Containers. We probably need to move this here out and this here. Yeah. Result container IT. So container IT equals this dot end. There we go. Dot end. And the other one, the objects. Idle workers end. maybe we should store. No, I think it's fine. Just have to use it carefully. Okay, what's the time? 2 hours 20. I think I need to take a break here. Yeah. Take a break. And then we continue with this next session. But I think we can implement it. Though this find idle worker result, that structure is a bit tricky. But it should be efficient, I think. Yeah. I have to see. I will figure it out as I implement it. Yeah. Good. I will take a break here. Then I wish you a great day or night. Until next time. Goodbye.